live. Yeah, yeah, we going live. Hey, hey, we going live. Yeah, yeah, we going live. Yeah, yeah, we going. Yeah, yeah, we going. Yeah, 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 we going live. From the 50-yard line, we going live. From the 50-yard line, we going live. From the 50-yard line. Hey.
For that over there, y'all.
Real good topics.
Yes.
Drew said, look,
Right.
I'm hungry. I don't know what y'all doing. He said, I'll be a lot better with the broadcast if I get something to eat.
Right.
But now let's jump into this real good topics because, you predicted this actually. You called this one, right?
Yep.
You said that the Mavericks were going to beat the Suns.
Yep.
I didn't think that this curse would show up until the conference finals because it showed up last year in the finals. And I thought maybe they'd be able to get past one more round, but no. The Suns were eliminated in the conference semifinals by the Dallas Mavericks. And it's because Chris Paul was cursed. I think we've seen it enough now. We have seen it enough now. We saw it when he was in Houston. They were up 3-2 on the Warriors.
Warriors, yep.
And, hamstring popped off the bone. Shout out to the it's him. It's him.
Okay. I'm gonna let you have that, right? Because I don't believe it.
Huh?
You know that ain't where my heart is with this.
I know.
I really feel like the people who needed to show up didn't show up, and that's really all this is.
Yeah.
I feel like Devin Booker got hurt and he wasn't being truthful about how hurt he was. Because he just faded into the background in this series to me. Other than getting chomped off by Luka constantly, you really didn't see a lot from him. I just don't know. I feel bad for Monty Williams.
Me too.
That's the part I feel bad about because clearly he had done his part to have this team have the best record in the NBA. They were firing on all cylinders up until this. I'm telling you, if you want me to tell you, Luka got in everybody's head and it was over. So that's, we can go with the curse theory, or we could go with the fact that nobody showed up. Nobody showed up.
You know why nobody showed up?
Because Chris Paul is cursed.
and let's not let DeAndre Ayton off the hook, because I think
the whole starting five.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And while I agree that he probably shouldn't be the one saying this, I do agree that I think it was it the second quarter of the fourth game? Was it? No, third game. Whatever game that was, Chris Paul got in foul trouble early and had to sit. Yeah. And who's his backup? It's escaping me.
Yes. What is his name?
It's escaping me right now.
Cameron Payne.
But who?
Cameron Payne.
Yes. He came in and he gave a spark. And so while I don't think it was Patrick Beverley's place to necessarily be dogging, because this is personal for you, and so maybe you shouldn't have spoken about this in a setting where, it was more professional and you got to be a little less biased about the things that you say. I agree that it might have just been better to keep him on the bench, superstar or not. You know what I mean? Like, this is what I was saying about the whole Doc thing. He don't coddle people. I don't care who you are, right? So I feel like Monty Williams felt like I got to have a level of respect for Chris Paul as my star and leave him out there. But when the energy is wrong, the chemistry ain't working, you need to put in who's gonna give you what you need, right? Yeah. That's what we saw with the Celtics in that one game, in that final game. No, the game before the final game, when they were in why can't I think of who they played? Jesus. Yeah. When they were in Milwaukee.
Okay.
And what's his name? What's his name? Williams caught on fire. Mm-hmm. And they just kept feeding him the ball.
Yeah.
And then you ain't take him out. You just kept feeding him the ball because your other dude was healthy. He was ready to. He could have played that game, but because that was smart play, right?
So with the high hand, good coaching.
Yes. And so if this dude is coming in and he's bringing the energy and he's giving you what you need, I don't really care that Chris Paul is your superstar. Sweetheart, you're going to sit because we're gonna ride this until the wheels fall off.
Well, so Chris Paul isn't only the superstar. He's also the leader and emotional leader of that team. And I think what Monty Williams may have been thinking is just kind of like a batter in baseball who's in a slump. He got to hit his way out of it.
But when you see it ain't working,
I think in hindsight, we say, all right, listen, we looked at the evidence and it didn't work. But I think when you're in it, you're like, listen, this guy got us here. He's gonna figure it out. He never did. And this, I guess, this is me only kind of caping for Monty Williams that, I understand the decision. You know what I'm saying? When you got a player of the caliber of Chris Paul. Now, from an outsider looking in, Chris Paul is cursed. Should have sat him the whole series.
I'm gonna just let you have that. Funny.
Listen, and it's, they curse together. They are cursed.
Well, anybody that's tied to you at that point.
No, I'm talking about Doc and Chris Paul. Like, they need to go.
All right.
Start their curse team.
They're gonna retire from basketball. Just leave it alone.
They'll start their cursed.
I cannot stop. No, but yeah, this was the biggest. That final game was the biggest meltdown disappointment I think I've ever seen in the playoffs. Honestly. No, for me personally, I've never seen a team that was number one go to trash. Oh, see, you feel me, Drew.
I'm gonna tell you, I think it was the biggest meltdown like that was that 2011 Heat team.
I don't even think I remember what happened.
They lost to the Dallas Mavericks in the finals.
Oh, I remember. Yeah,
they were up. They were up 2-0 and ended up losing 4-2.
See, I ain't even talking about like the series record. I'm talking about how you played in that last game.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, and now, this is what everyone puts a stain on my GOAT's legacy for. They say that he can't be considered a GOAT because of how he performed in that finals, and he'll admit to he stunk it up. But 27-7 and 7 or 27-8 and 7 or something like that.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good stink up. But it will
for the average person, but not for the average.
You're right. I got something I got to send you too.
Okay.
It was these comedians who were making a case for their GOATs.
Oh Lord.
And you're gonna laugh. You're gonna be mad, but you're gonna laugh.
Oh, okay. All right. Send it to me.
All right. Let's move on to the NBA draft. And we just saw the NBA lottery, and we saw that the Orlando Magic received that coveted number one slot.
Yes.
In the lottery.
Yes.
Who do you see going number one overall to the Orlando Magic?
So I've just been kind of watching what's happening. And obviously the Magic need a big man, right? So they're not going to pick a guard or anybody like that. So looking at who we got, it's two people that stand out to me.
Okay. Okay.
Jabari Smith.
Both did this.
Jabari Smith.
Yep.
And Chet Holmgren.
Yeah.
Now, I don't really care which one they pick. I feel like they'll be good either way. I know that Chet Holmgren has probably a quicker upside right now in the minds of a lot of people, but Jabari Smith, they neck and neck with me. Literally, I don't feel like they can go wrong either way.
Yeah. So, when we both talked about this, we talked about we both kind of were settled on that Holmgren. Yeah. And I think both of us in kind of looking at it and going to do our research a little bit, both came up with Jabari Smith as kind of right there because they're both forwards. Yeah. They would be both what the Orlando Magic needs.
Right.
I'm going to tell you why, because I was sold on Chet Holmgren.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you why they got to go with Jabari Smith.
Oh, okay.
Gonzaga's curse.
Okay, listen, everybody cursed today.
Everybody cursed. Everybody
cursed today. Oh my gosh, I can't take it.
We've seen what happened to Gonzaga. They've been the number one seed the last few years.
Don't be the number one seed anymore.
No more.
Okay?
No, we can't take it.
No.
And I joke, you know what I'm saying? I'm saying that in jest over all of the
cursed stuff, yeah.
I think Chet Holmgren is the can't miss prospect.
Yeah.
Right? But I don't know if you remember a few years ago, more than a few years ago, actually, when we thought, or at least people thought, I won't say we like you and I, but it was popular thought, and this is what made Danny Ainge a genius. It was popular thought that Markelle Fultz was the number one can't miss prospect for the 76ers. And so they leaped the Celtics to go get him, traded for him, got him, and we see what Jason Tatum is doing because that's who the Celtics
That's who the Celtics picked. That's right.
And so I think that there may be room for a situation like that to occur this time. You know, because it's truly all about what organization you get with.
Right. And that may be the best spot for Jabari Smith.
Right.
Like, right. If I got to pick one of those two guys, that might be the best spot for him.
Right.
Just the team, the way that they operate, things that they do, it may just be a better fit for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, all I think of when I think of Chet is from Weird Science. So I really have to catch myself.
And if I'm not mistaken, Chet Holmgren is the grandson of Mike Holmgren. Yes. I thought so. I remember hearing that when he was like a freshman.
He gonna be all right. He going somewhere. He gonna be all right. Yeah. So we'll see which one of it really doesn't. I really don't think it's a loss either way.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah.
All right.
All right.
Tatum, Luka, and Giannis are being called the reason the NBA will be okay once my GOAT decides to retire. Now you put me onto this because I hadn't heard about this. They left some names off of here because they only mentioned Jason Tatum, Luka Doncic, and Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yep.
Now, who do you think they left off?
Well, you said names. I think it's one name that they left off.
What name?
And believe it or not, somebody that I'm not that big a fan of, but I feel like he does have such huge impact on the game, regardless of my feelings about his whatever. Is Joel Embiid.
Yes. Trust the process.
You can't.
He is the problem.
You can't have this list without him. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You cannot. I mean, he's the most dominant big man since Shaq.
Yeah.
I don't know what you want to do. And better than Shaq because he can shoot the ball from the outside. Yeah. So but dominating in the paint is what I'm saying. Like, yeah. So
wait, hold on. Yeah. So in that statement, you're not counting Giannis as a big, right?
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, he is, but he isn't. Not really. Yeah, like, you know what I mean?
He has the ball in his hand way too much at the top of the
game. He's not. He doesn't play the role of a big to me. Yeah. He just is big.
Certainly right. Not a traditional big.
Right.
He is a 7-footer. So my honorable mention is Nikola Jokic because he just won another MVP, and I just think that you can't, he's won a couple of MVPs so far, and I think that you can't just, not mention him. But my only one
person. This other one, I don't know. Listen, go ahead.
Person, Jimmy Buckets. Jimmy Buckets. I think that his talent is undeniable. I think that if he was still in Philly with Doc, I think that
curse Doc.
Yeah, I think that team. I think he removes the curse.
Oh, okay. All right.
I feel like Jimmy Butler is probably one of the most underrated players to ever play in the NBA. I think that I guess because of some of the questions surrounding him, he has been looked at as a problem when it comes to different teams. Well, actually, only one team, because you didn't hear much about it in Philly. The Timberwolves were the only team that kind of tried to label him as a problem. And in fairness, his coach came out and, Tibbs, he came out and dispelled that. And so, he's doing in Miami what we believe to him to be able to do, or at least what I believe him to be able to do all along.
I have never questioned this man's talent, ever. I think he's a phenomenal player. I think he's a high energy chemistry guy, which is something that, you can't teach, right? I just don't see him as one of the ones that we can put in this category right now because when he shows up, it's the playoffs. And we see the phenomenal, amazing play that Jimmy Butler brings to the play. That's a whole different level. The man he goes off to a whole different level when it comes to the playoffs. And I appreciate that. But I feel like you got to be able to, I'm not saying you need to have this kind of, the numbers he's putting up 40 points a night, every night during the regular season, but can we get a few?
So, and again, this is one of the things that we, discussed during our meeting. I think that they're one of the few NBA organizations who has a true culture and a true system in place. When we think about those teams, we think about the San Antonio Spurs, obviously the Miami Heat, the Celtics. They have a system in place, and it works for them. And so what happens, we know that Jimmy Butler has it in him, because if you can do it in the playoffs, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to do it during the regular season. But from their record, their seeding, we know that he hasn't really been called on to have to do that during the season. And one of the things that I pointed to was that the scoring output is kind of what people pay most attention to, right? And so he exposed for a 40-point game in the playoffs, and we look at it as, all right, he had this amazing output. He doesn't do it during the season. But Jimmy Butler is the number one defender on that team, and he's called on to guard the number one offensive player on the opposite team.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the playoffs where it gets tighter, possessions are, a lot more valuable. He's being called on to be the number one offensive threat, along with defending the number one offensive threat from the other team. And I think that just adds to his legend. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that the fact that he ain't turning out a bunch of 40-point games during the season detracts from it. I think it just speaks to, one, the culture of the Miami Heat and that system that they have in place, that him being such a stellar player, they're still winning games without him having to do that. But in the playoffs where things get tighter, when you need him to go do it, he can go do it.
Okay.
We're gonna
Sorry.
Agree to disagree.
Yep. I'm not discounting Jimmy Butler because I feel like he's a phenomenal player. I don't know if he goes on this list just yet.
Yeah.
I just don't know that. That's all.
This probably should have been Who's Really Right. Let's jump to and this is something that we have covered before and we've talked extensively about. But the United States women's national team and the men's national team for soccer have ratified a CBA that allows them to equally split World Cup bonuses.
Yeah.
Is this a huge win for equity in sports?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Just to say it, I mean, so equivalent for anybody who's not like really into soccer, this is like saying for the WNBA and the NBA that we go, all the proceeds we get from the finals, we just gonna split all of that money
Mm-hmm.
amongst the two leagues.
Mm-hmm.
Hello?
So just with that analogy, I think that the difference is because this is a national team, I think that, one, the women have outperformed the men just
Absolutely.
traditionally, right? And so
Absolutely.
what doesn't come into play here is like the business of soccer. Now we talking about like what goes on in the United States and them having tickets and stuff like that.
Right.
Like, that would be one thing.
Right.
Where I thought that the women's national team was kind of getting a bad rap was none of those factors are in play. You can't lean on, oh, well, the men's team are selling more tickets or the men's team has more appeal. But that's not the case because the women have traditionally outperformed the men.
Mm-hmm.
And so there shouldn't be.
Are you saying from a business standpoint or like an actual on the field?
Well, so because there isn't much business to kind of lean to in this, like it's really just kind of a pot of money. And so we don't have that there to lean to. We can't say like with the like where you got 20, 30 million eyes on NBA finals game.
NBA, right.
And then you look at the women's finals game and there's probably only a couple 100,000.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so when you can look at that and say, well, there's kind of a disparity here. And so that leads to money and that kind of leads to pay. Right. Mm-hmm. And now I'm only using that as an example. There's a whole nother issue going on with the owners and the way that the CBA is structured for them. So I'm only using that as an example, but that doesn't appear to be an issue with men's and women's soccer.
Mm-hmm.
And so there shouldn't be any disparity in pay.
So you don't see this as a win?
So no, I see it as a win, definitely, because I feel like you remove those factors and you can't blame this on business. You can't say like with the WNBA and the NBA, oh, well, this is just kind of a business thing and hail the fact that the owners are making more of the share of the pie in the WNBA than the owners in the NBA.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, I'm hoping that this, it takes just one. So hopefully this will start conversations around it, even if it doesn't make good business sense. It's just the right thing to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
From an equity standpoint. And we've talked about equal versus equitable. And so this is an equity thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm even though it was equally divided, it is an equity thing. And so I'm excited for them for that. So good stuff. All right, y'all. Just know this next topic.
Yeah.
We might not get to nothing else today.
Yeah.
This right here, listen.
As an HBCU graduate, I think it is laughable that Nick Saban is trying to sell,
demonize.
He's trying to sell his boosters on the fact that Jackson State gave Travis Hunter Jr. $1 million to come play.
And Texas A&M's whole team.
Yeah, everybody.
They bought the whole team. They bought the team. And
right.
Miami basketball is paying their players $400,000. Those are the words that came out of Nick Saban's mouth.
Yeah.
About the NIL. He is trying his best to demonize the NIL because it takes away his leverage and he hates it.
And that's the issue. What it does is it levels the playing field.
Yep.
It brings those backroom conversations and those backroom deals to the forefront and says, okay, we're going to put it all on the table.
All out here for everybody to see. Yep.
He does not have the leverage. He does not have the advantage.
Nope.
And it's unfortunate that he would speak about it in this way. And it's wild because what he's opening the door for is for people to start digging into that history of how'd you get these players when you were at LSU?
Oh, did you hear what Jimbo said?
Oh, I heard him.
Jimbo said, I need y'all to go do your due diligence and dig into that history. He telling them. He invited them personally. Go dig into that history because I find it laughable that this is the person.
He the person.
I work with him. I know him. Mm-hmm. This is the person that will come out and be trying to say that, I can't wait.
Right. He even went so far to call him a narcissist. I was like, Jesus, Jimbo.
Well, I mean, that may be how he feels about it. And, I just feel like it is, he did come back, and not to his defense, but just the facts. He did come back and say, I probably should not have called out Jackson State and Texas A&M personally. But that doesn't negate what you said. Like, you can't, it's no take back, right? You said it now.
I felt that was disingenuous.
Oh, well, I mean, somebody probably was like, look, idiot, you need to go and take that back because that got out to the public. You might have thought you was in this room with these people and nobody, but you're Nick Saban. Somebody's always paying attention. Mm-hmm. So you saying this out loud in front of these people, whatever your motive was, even if you didn't really have the motive to demonize NIL, or you didn't really have the motive for it to be publicly demonized anyway, and you didn't have the motive to be trying to throw suspicion on Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M or Dion and Jackson State or Miami and their basketball play. Even if that wasn't your intention, it happened because you're Nick Saban.
Right.
Period.
Right.
So to me, you opened up a can of worms, sweetheart, and now you're gonna have to deal with the consequences of whatever that's gonna look like in the end for you. And the other thing it did is, unless you was in this room with these boosters and they about to blow your pockets up, I mean, you just help some kids make their mind up that they're gonna go somewhere else because you now you got to claim that we don't do this, and this, and we're gonna do this. So now you've put the microscope over your own program.
Right.
So you don't have wiggle room to do anything that might have been the norm before.
And he talking about he don't like NIL, but he went on the record as saying that Bryce Young was a millionaire before he came on campus.
How did that happen? How did that happen?
Yeah.
So because it's not in your control, that's the thing about it, right? As long as it was the boosters that was lining the pockets of the players for you and giving them what they needed and doing those things. Because let's be honest, that's what's been happening all along, right?
Absolutely.
And not just at Alabama. This is just across the board. Like, Alabama, I don't know too many football players. Georgia. I don't know too many collegiate football players who are at least decent, who didn't walk on to their school, and some of those who walked on even, who really, especially these D1 schools, who really, they living better than I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When these boosters are involved, them kids call like all kind of stuff. Right. They figure it out. It's legal. It's supposedly it's not legal, but they figure out how to get it done, right? So, yeah. So for me, like what Travis Hunter said is like, he said, if I had $1 million, would my mama be living in a 3-bedroom house with 5 children? Would that be happening? Like, and the thing is, if it were being that if they really had given him $1 million just outright through NIL, he could easily be doing whatever he wanted to do. He wouldn't have to be secretly doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
So it just really makes zero sense that this is the approach he took to this. And I was about to say I feel bad for him. I don't feel bad for him. Now you're gonna get what you get. That's what I'm gonna say. Because not only are you about to probably lose players, you're going to be under the microscope, and you're definitely gonna have a target on your back, boo. From some of these other schools. I'm glad you only called out one. Maybe you don't play them this year, cause that's gonna be
they got Texas A&M.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, that's gonna be ugly.
It's gonna be a good one.
Listen, I gotta find somewhere to watch that one.
Right.
That's gonna be ugly. But yeah, no, this is pretty. Yeah, I don't even know what to call it. Yeah.
Yeah, me neither. I just, so I just think it's laughable that you think that Jackson State has $1 million to give.
And be clear, Dion was like, I don't even have $1 million.
Right.
And his son Shador said, my dad, give somebody, my dad, make somebody $1 million. Talk about he gets mad at us when we don't eat all of the chicken off the bone.
Oh man, that's funny.
So I mean, it is what it is. We've talked about this a couple of times now. Does this NIL thing need some cleaning up? Absolutely. Are there flaws? Absolutely. Were there flaws before the NIL? For sure. Yeah. So it's a process. It's going to take some time. They'll finally get it all right. The regulations will be put in place. Hopefully not to the point that it doesn't make sense to even have it, but some regulations do need to be put in place. And it's going to just take some time, but definitely not putting stuff out that you're not sure is true. That's not good.
Right.
That's not good. Yeah. He's trying to demonize NIL. That's what I really feel like.
Put the cameras on me. 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 Put the cameras on me.